Do the Texans have a new weapon, or is it just a fluke? Plus, the playoff picture, the post-week outlook, perhaps the most important one we've had in a long time. Let's go inside the locker room.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the locker room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey. Locker room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk. Yeah, you know what we about to do. Localized. Every angle's what we really do. We the source. We the pulse of the city too. Landlocked. Got the game in the headlock. Localized every time. Can't stop, won't stop. Yeah, we top two and we not too. Plugged in daily digital on YouTube. We got taste for days. Opinions to give. We got takeaways.
Playoffs. It is the locker room post-week outlook for the Texans. Texans sitting inside that playoff picture, but there's a lot of uncertainty and it's very crowded round here. Shout out to Sleeper for sponsoring the video, the greatness that is Sleeper. Will have another submission later on in the week. If you want to play Sleeper, do so. Use the promo code Locker. You will not regret it. My dad's addicted now. Which is not a bad thing to be addicted to. You can get $20 free. If you've never tried it, you can also get 100% back up to $100. All you got to do is go to Sleeper, download the Sleeper app, and get it going. Also, use it as a scoring app. It's very, very good on the scoring app. Texans did a lot of scoring this weekend. They scored 40 points. Big part of that was Jawar Jordan, and we got to make some sense of this Jawar Jordan situation. We'll try to do that in a sec. But first, let's hear from D'Amico Ryans on Jawar Jordan, what he feels about the historic debut of the once released, once practice squad running back for the Texans. Here's what D'Amico had to say.
For the most part, I thought Jawar made good decisions with the way he was running the football. We still can clean up some of our blocking assignments and how we're blocking. For the most part, he made some good cuts. He was able to hit an explosive play on him because he made a good cut. Just him slashing downfield, taking what was there. I thought he did a really good job of benefiting off of some of the good blocks that we did have. He did a good job of that.
I think there's a couple of ways when you look at what D'Amico says. Sometimes he's going to minimize things, rightfully so. Especially if he feels like he has something up his sleeve. He's also being pretty realistic. Like there can be some balance to this Jawar Jordan situation. I think that's very important to do that. And I think that's really the biggest takeaway as we look at the Arizona game. I don't put a lot of stock in the defensive performance, although I know D'Amico Ryans was frustrated with it. I don't put a lot of stock in the performance by the offense, although CJ Stroud continues to look good. That does matter. But I am intrigued to see what the Jawar Jordan thing looks like moving forward. Furthermore, we've talked about how the Texans could use more playmaking at running back. This has been an ongoing thing, especially since we knew Joe Mixon was going to be out. Some people said they should have traded for Breece Hall. There's been a lot of talk about that, and the fact that you have a guy that can be on your practice squad, regardless of how good you think he is or isn't, and he can go out there and get 100 yards, the first 100-yard performance you've had, and he can add a different element to the offense. It's pretty exciting. It's also a little bit frustrating because if Nick Chubb doesn't get hurt, this doesn't happen. And that goes back to kind of the evaluation and the manner in which these guys on offense evaluate players. Cole Popovich has done a very good job with the card he's been dealt on the offensive line. I think he's done a fine job with that. But there's always something weird going on with the City So situation. What's going on there? Braxton Berrios randomly gets called up. What's going on there? And at the running back position, this was a talking point all offseason. It was the most polarizing talking point of training camp. It was the most frequent opinion that we had. And me and Cody Stoots, we're not always aligned. We're not always synchronized when it comes to opinions. But the biggest opinion that we had was Nick Chubb has the least amount of juice at the running back position. It's not close. And for whatever reason, despite what we did see from Jawar Jordan, we saw a little bit of juice. he was released. Dameon Pierce lingered around, which was really weird. Dare Ogunbowale took up a roster spot, although you're not really going to use him as a full workload back. Woody Marks was barely touching the ball early on, and they were using Nick Chubb. And then Woody Marks was touching the ball probably more than he should be. You're running him into a wall, and now suddenly Nick Chubb hurts his ribs. Jawar Jordan's up, and he looks like your best running back. It's good because now you get a chance, but you look back and you say, "Damn, what took so long here?" And how real is this? How real is this? Do I think Jawar Jordan? People are throwing out the Arian Foster comparison. Do I think Jawar Jordan's going to be Arian Foster? No. Do I even think that Jawar Jordan is going to end up being RB2 next season? No. But this season, could I see Jawar Jordan emerging as being RB2? He already is. He already is. He's already better than Nick Chubb. They already trust him when they need to run the ball more than Dare Ogunbowale. It seems like they got even more creative in the pass game and with some of the design runs that they had for him than they have for Woody Marks at times. Oftentimes, it seems like they're just running Woody Marks into a wall. They don't throw Woody Marks the ball, despite the fact he's one of the most accomplished backs in recent history in college football. So he already is RB2. He already is your second best running back. Now, does that mean that he's going to get playing time when Nick Chubb comes back? I mean, I don't know. I don't know how we got to this point in the first place. But the benefit of the doubt needs to go. I've heard the notion that, oh, yeah, your fourth string running back went out there and did this against Arizona. Arizona sucks. I don't disagree with that. But this guy shouldn't have been the fourth string running back. He should have gotten opportunities instead of Dameon Pierce earlier this year. Even on kick return, he was better than Dameon Pierce in camp. I think he was actually hurt last year. If you look at how fast he was, and this was one of the talking points, if you look at how fast he was last year compared to this year in camp, I think there's a chance he was pretty banged up last year. But in this running back room, it seems crazy that a guy can emerge off of the practice squad and suddenly be a contributor 15 weeks into a season in which you've struggled to run the ball. You haven't had a 100-yard rusher. But this is also a very, very suspect offensive staff, and this is a bad running back room. So I do think it's possible, and I do want to see what Jawar Jordan can do and what it looks like. Outside of that, Mario Williams, or not Mario Williams, damn. If they had Mario Williams along with this, that would be nice. Mario Edwards Jr. is going to miss the season. So that's another takeaway from the Arizona game before we move into the localized outlook. Here's what D'Amico Ryan said about Mario Edwards Jr. being out for the season.
Mario's done a great job for us all year. It's a steady player, consistent, brings great energy to our entire team. So really going to miss his presence. He can fly around on game day. He runs to the football with great effort, intent. Really loved what he brought to our unit. So we're missing him. We lost Settle. Losing Mario is going to be difficult to replace those guys.
Not ideal. It's not good for the depth of the D line. But look, your top two guys right now are Tommy Togiai and Sheldon Rankins. You're probably looking at about 30% of the snaps between the two guys that they use. They got bodies. Am I going to sit here and provide a sales pitch for the bodies they got at DT or the guy they can bring in? No. I'm going to say he doesn't have to do much, and it's going to be a 30% snap thing. I don't think you increase the snap count of Togiai and Settle, but I think they'll be just fine in that area. The injuries are going to happen. Your number 3, 4 D lineman, you're going to have to replace them. Now, as far as a couple names that have been brought up, Kurt Heinisch and Foley Fatukasi. Foley Fatukasi had a shoulder. He fucked his shoulder up pretty bad. I don't know how bad, but the cast was pretty intense, and I haven't seen Foley Fatukasi since he was in that cast. They also gave away his jersey number. So if they plan on Foley Fatukasi coming back, I don't even know if he has a locker anymore, honestly. I haven't looked in that area. But Fatukasi is not coming back. So if you're throwing out the name Foley Fatukasi, that's not going to happen. Kurt Heinisch, he's in the facility as much as anyone. So it's not like a situation with Joe Mixon or Stephon Diggs last year. So Joe Mixon this year, Stephon Diggs last year, where he gets hurt and you don't see him. But we haven't seen him practice. So I don't think Kurt Heinisch is a possibility to come back, but I have no idea because I do see him walking around. It does seem like he's in shape, but we haven't seen him practice. And quite frankly, Kurt Heinisch wasn't like some fantastic player that's just going to be able to play his way into shape and help you down the stretch in the playoffs. So those are the two names that get thrown out there. Fatukasi, that's a 0% chance. Kurt Heinisch, that's probably I don't even want to say 2%. That's a 0.5% chance. So you do the math. I would not bet on those. I think there's probably a chance they bring someone in, and they got some other guys that we'll probably take a closer look at. And the other good news, you got the Raiders this week. So when you have the Raiders and you're a 14.5 point favorite, which is what the Texans opened us, maybe you can kind of allow these guys to play their way into shape. The Raiders suck, and I don't think the Raiders really want to win right now. I think they're one of 3 teams with 2 wins. So there you go. When it comes to the D lineman, Mario Edwards done for the season. Final thoughts on the Arizona game. That's really it. I don't have much more. Obviously the Texans handle business. I think CJ Stroud playing great is one thing. Jawar Jordan, the intrigue and sort of the frustration of the way they've handled that position is another. And then we'll see how they handle the lack of depth at DT. So those are the big thoughts. As far as stuff that happened outside for the Texans, really not a ton of help when it comes to it. Here's the standings right here. Denver could probably do you a solid by defeating Jacksonville this week. And then we can start perhaps talking about tiebreakers and whatnot, and then maybe hoping that the Jags could wet the bed against either Indianapolis or Tennessee, which some people are not dismissive of. New England really could have helped you because they could have pushed you above Buffalo, who is playing really, really well right now. I know that there was kind of a time where you're kicking Buffalo. It's like, well, they might not win this division. And, the Texans own Josh Allen. If the playoffs began today, and let's say the Texans and Buffalo won their first 2 games, you would have to go to Buffalo for the AFC Championship game or sooner, depending on what happens. So the biggest nightmare for me, and I've broken this down, and I think the most important thing for the Texans would be passing Buffalo in the standings so that there was no possibility of having to go there. Because I think playing Buffalo in January or late December is damn sure different than playing Buffalo at NRG during primetime games or during noon games, which is what we've seen when the Texans have taken on the Bills. We've seen them on the short week, and then we've seen them at NRG, and we saw them in the playoffs a few years ago before D'Amico. So passing Buffalo, not looking great. They're on fire. Buffalo's remaining games, if you look at it, they're 10-4 right now. Buffalo has the Browns. That's a dub. They have the Eagles, which could be interesting, but who knows how much Philly's really going to have to win because the NFC East is completely falling apart. So it's not like Philly's going to be overly desperate. And then they have the Jets. So they have 2 of the worst teams in the league in Cleveland and the Jets, and they have Philly in between. So catching Buffalo, they would have to lose a game, and then you would have to win out. And we just laid out that schedule. Not ideal. So that, I don't want to call it a nightmare, but having to go to Buffalo, assuming that they take care of business, it looks like kind of a long shot. The other thing is, and the other theory, as we look at these playoff standings, is, and I'll just pull up this graphic. You can make a case, and this is the ESPN playoff machine. You can make a case that with where the Texans are sitting right now. Now, if you get the 3 seed right now, you look at this right now, like how it's laid out. Winning the division right now would mean that you're hosting the Buffalo Bills. Texans have had a lot of success against the Buffalo Bills. I'm not disputing that. But let's be honest, you would probably rather go to New England. As good as Drake May has been, and as much as your boy has a lot of respect for Mike Vrabel, you would probably rather go to New England and face Drake May than hosting the Buffalo Bills. That's just me. Maybe I'm overthinking this a little bit. Maybe you would rather have the home game. I'm not going to knock you for that. But if you ask me right now, people are talking about winning the division with how it's sitting right now. And I think Buffalo has a decent chance to climb up to 5. They could even win the division when you look at this. Like the AFC could really go through Buffalo if they win the division, because we just talked about the Buffalo remaining games, and I don't have the tiebreakers of the Bills and Patriots in front of me. I know they did split in the season, but the Patriots remaining games, we just heard the Buffalo with what they got. The Patriots, Baltimore will be the tough one for the Patriots, and it'll be a desperate one for Baltimore. But if the Patriots can end the Ravens, then that would be a big favor. They got them this week. It's actually going to be Sunday Night Football next week. But then after that, they got the Jets and Dolphins. So the Baltimore game will be the one that pretty much decides it. But let's just pretend that Buffalo is going to stay there in the 6th seed. Would you not rather face New England in New England than host Buffalo? I would. That's just me. You might disagree. That's me. I would. Josh Allen seems to find his groove. I don't want to say Buffalo has played as bad as they're possibly going to play, but that's just me. And I know D'Amico owns Josh Allen. I think D'Amico could own Drake May, and I think the Texans could own the New England Patriots. So I would rather go on the road, be uncomfortable, figure it out, adjust accordingly. Now, after that, you may have to go to Buffalo, so you may look at it that way. But just on the surface of how that's laid out, I would rather the Jags play Buffalo and the Texans take on the Patriots. And with the way that this is laid out, if the Texans did win this game, they would go to Denver next. So you would take on the 2 teams that we've been talking about all year. The 2 teams that we've been talking about all year and saying, man, those teams aren't for real. Are you kidding me? Denver, New England, the Texans could handle them. Your path to the AFC Championship game, which may end in Buffalo because they're the 6, but your path to the AFC Championship game as the 7 seed right now would be New England and then Denver. You'd have to win those 2 games. So D'Amico Ryans would have to beat Drake May and Bo Nix. That's the path right now. So let's call that option A. Option A, to get to the AFC Championship game for the first time in franchise history. And let me know in the chat. Shout out to everyone in the chat. So option A would be at New England, no home game. Damn sure none of the Saturday early start game, done. First time in franchise history. So option A, assuming that you're not going to win the division. Option A would be at New England in the wild card round, and then at Denver in the divisional round, and then probably at Buffalo. Now, option B, if you win the division in your Jacksonville, would be Buffalo comes to town. Now, maybe you look at it as you're going to have to beat Buffalo no matter what. So you'd rather have them at NRG than Buffalo. That's cool. I have a healthy amount of respect for Buffalo And I don't even know what the line would be in that, despite the fact the Texans have owned them. Sometimes whenever you beat a team in the regular season, they come back and beat you in the playoffs. But this is option 2. So this I think this is a discussion worth having. So option 2 would be you host Buffalo, and then you host the winner of the Chargers or the Steelers. And it could end up being the Ravens. That New England this week, Sunday Night Football next week is big because the Patriots will face the Ravens. Now, if the Patriots beat the Ravens, good chance they win the division, and Buffalo is not the 2 seed. So they stay away from that 2 seed, and you have that. Now, would you rather have Buffalo and then the winner of the Chargers Steelers at home? That's two playoff games. Or would you rather delay the Buffalo game? I would rather delay the Buffalo game. I don't mind this team being uncomfortable, and I think they could handle Drake May and Bo Nix. And by the time you face Buffalo at that point, you're on fire and you're feeling yourself. But who knows? The other thing is you have Jacksonville against Denver this week, which is big. This is going to be a really big localized week of football. It's going to be a really big localized week of football, and the picture will shape up. There'll be a lot less ifs this week. We look at the games, most meaningful week 16 games. As I pull this up on the screen here in the locker room post-week outlook. So you have Buffalo at Cleveland. I mean, let's be serious. Cleveland's playing terrible. They are a 10-point favorite, Buffalo on the road in Cleveland. The Cowboys Chargers, maybe the Cowboys can do you a little bit of a favor if you do want to creep up in the standings. It just depends whether you think the 7 or 5 is better, because if you have fear for Baltimore and you don't want to go to Baltimore in round 1, the problem with being the 5 seed is you're going to play the winner of the AFC North. Now, if that's Pittsburgh, that's fantastic. Going to Pittsburgh, fantastic. Baltimore, you beat them this year. Lamar Jackson didn't play, and they've kind of had your number, and you don't want them to flip the switch. So if you have the 5 seed, then you're gonna go to Baltimore if Baltimore wins that division, which they very well could. It's gonna be there's gonna be a lot of factors, and there's gonna be a lot of things that will factor into that. So depending on how you feel about that, the Cowboys could do you a favor. Chiefs, they gone. Patrick Mahomes torn ACL. He had his surgery. They gone. That game means absolutely nothing to you. We got to scroll down here. Jags, Broncos. The Broncos definitely need this win because they want to keep the 1 seed. The Jags, could they jag? There's some people who feel like Jacksonville could lose 2 of their next 3. If they don't lose this one, they might not lose another game. They're going to have Phillip Rivers in his 3rd game after this, and then they're going to have the Tennessee Titans at the end of the season, perhaps where a win takes the number 1 pick away from them. Who knows what they decide to do, but the Jags, you just want them. You probably want them to lose, despite what I just said. You just want them to lose, despite what I just said. I don't know that the Texans and many people are going to side with me on that, but we'll see how that plays out. And then the Texans Raiders, as I said, 14.5 points. Pittsburgh against the Lions. If they lose, then the Baltimore pressure is really a little bit lower. And the Ravens take on the Patriots. Now, Baltimore's favored in this game. I still want the Ravens to just go away. I would rather the Ravens just go away to where it's not even a possibility for them to play the Texans. But that will be a Sunday night game, and it'll all shape up. 7 days from now, we'll get a much more clear picture of what's going on and what the layout is. I would rather delay Buffalo. I also just kind of want something new. Go on the road, develop that meanness. We've seen it with the Jets in 08, 09. Just develop that meanness. Go out there, smack around the Patriots, smack around the Broncos, and then see how it goes. Can't apologize though for being the 3 seed. Now, the ideal thing is that the Buffalo's not the 2 seed and you're the 3 seed. So that way Buffalo has to come to your place, which is still going to be pretty tough in the playoffs. I just think it's going to be a little bit different. Let's get back to this Jawar Jordan situation in a sec. First of all, I want to let you know SNL is going to be at BB's Kingwood this Friday. The college football playoff actually begins this week. Friday, you have the Oklahoma Sooners hosting the Alabama Crimson Tide. A little bit of a rematch there. On Friday, we'll be out there at 3. We'll be broadcasting at 4. So we'll see you there. And then the next day, we're going to have a watch party at 11 a.m. It's not really a party. It's just we're going. If you want to join us, join us. We'll be at Spanky's, one of our homes away from home, at 11 a.m. to watch the Aggies in Miami. Some weekend pizza on Saturday if y'all would like to join there. But join us at BB's Kingwood this Friday, and then we'll be at Spanky's on Saturday as well. Let's get into this Jawar Jordan thing. So we're trying to balance this out. D'Amico Ryans was asked, and this is a question I was going to ask. Jonathan Alexander of the Chronicle asked it, and this is what D'Amico had to say about the possibility of Jawar Jordan getting more opportunity.
We'll cross that bridge when it gets there, but I think more so for right now in this game on yesterday is just, giving Jawar his praise for what he was able to accomplish. I thought he did an outstanding job, again, of taking advantage of the opportunity that was presented to him. And he did a great job of, gaining over 100 yards, rushing, making some explosive runs for us. So it's just a credit to Jawar for right now. We'll deal with the other issue, when we get there. But for right now, credit to Jawar.
Yeah, credit to him. And I think he gets some more opportunity this weekend. I think Woody Marks, you perhaps rest. The playoff situation is crazy. The playoff situation is crazy. The reality is you take care of business this week, which you have to. The Colts, hopefully they fall out of your way to where you're in the playoffs no matter what. And then beggars can maybe be choosers, and we can get a closer look at it as you go into that Chargers game and as you go in to that Colts game. I think the main things that I'm getting across, the main points is going to Buffalo is something that I think if it could be avoided, that would be great. Seems like kind of a long shot, unless perhaps you win the division. Now, the division winner now would actually host Buffalo in the first round, which is not ideal either. So, moral of the story, with all the talking and all the ifs that will shape up, is your boy still has a healthy amount of respect for Buffalo and what they can do. And it may be inevitable that you're going to have to face him. Maybe it's better if it's at NRG, but if they have to go on the road, I'm okay with that, especially with the defense they have and the way that their quarterback is playing. Other moral of the story is Baltimore. I think going to Baltimore, to me, would be worse than going to either Denver, New England, Pittsburgh, or Jacksonville. Of all those games, with as bad as Baltimore has been and the fact that they're likely going to have the worst division, if Baltimore wins the AFC North, I'm going to ask you, where would you rather play? Where would you least rather play? If you could eliminate a possible first-round matchup, let's pretend the Texans don't win the division. Let's pretend Jacksonville takes care of business. Whatever needs to happen, happens, and the Jags are the AFC South champs. Which of these places would you least want to go to? Denver, New England, Jacksonville, or Baltimore? Baltimore's number one on my list. They're healthier. They're more battle-tested. They've owned you when Lamar Jackson has been the quarterback. I think that's a no-brainer. And that's where the conversation over 5 versus 7 seed comes into play. So we got to keep a close eye on that. Baltimore and Buffalo. We came into the season saying Kansas City, Baltimore, Buffalo, those are the teams that you're chasing. Kansas City's dead. Patrick Mahomes tore his ACL. And they're not in the playoffs. You had a massive hand in ending their streak. And Baltimore is still alive because of the dog-butted division that they're in. So that's where the Texans are at. The good news, CJ Stroud's playing some damn good football. And I think that's the thing that matters the most when it comes to the state of the Texans moving forward is, can the quarterback flip the switch? Can he lean on the defense? And those two things, they can take you a long, long way. I've loved the way CJ Stroud has played. Almost seems recharged the 3 games he's come back. Did everything he needed to do against Indianapolis. Did everything he needed to do against Kansas City. And it seems like he's seeing the field. He's hitting his tight ends. He's hitting his running backs. He's throwing it away. It seems like CJ Stroud's in kind of a groove. Does his head coach agree with that notion?
Yesterday with his decision-making, again, keeping his eyes downfield, being able to see, when the receivers do uncover on the scramble drill. Dalton has done a really good job of, having that connection, being on the same page with CJ, and CJ's eyes are up and he's trying to find him. He's not trying to run the football, right? But we also have that threat of him running, which we know it presents a problem to the defense. So him having that threat allows our receivers to have even more time to uncover, and that's what you saw, him and Dalton just being on the same page and CJ making that connection to get us in the end zone.
He's been running smart. I mean, you use the legs to set up the closer field goal attempt on the 52-yarder, which he did. He's extending plays. He's throwing the ball away. I think once the playoffs come around, he might be a little bit more aggressive, but right now he's using his legs very, very well. And you can kind of see the comfort level that CJ Stroud currently has with this offense. Still a problem when they get in the red zone. Still flawed. Still a lot of reason for frustration. But they're not really going to be tested this week. Don't think. And then next week you got the Chargers, and we'll get a more clear picture of what's going on. It's going to be really, really interesting. The real question is, can the Jags fold when it comes to the division? If they don't lose this week, then it's highly unlikely that is going to happen. But Denver's going to need to win. They're only a 3-point favorite. Jacksonville, it feels like they're getting a lot of love. Seems like every time you love on Jacksonville, they end up letting you down when it comes to believing in what they can or can't do. So this Denver Jacksonville game going to be interesting. It's going to be fun scoreboard watching. Quite frankly, whether it's appropriate or not, I'm not the one playing. I'm not the one coaching. I overlooked Arizona last week. Admittedly, I'm overlooking the Raiders. I'll be honest with you. Cody Stoots, he's probably going to look at what the Raiders have to offer and all that. I don't necessarily, outside of Brock Bowers, it's really not a lot. They got rid of Jacoby Myers. I don't think Geno Smith is going to play. I don't know why they hired the ghost of Pete Carroll in the first place, although he does look great for his age. He looks a lot younger than he is, but it's probably time for him to retire. And quite frankly, they probably don't want to win. Tom Brady probably doesn't want them to win either. They would probably like to have this Fernando Mendoza fella at quarterback. They would probably like to have the number 1 overall pick. They're in that pillow fight and in that situation, and it's not a great QB draft. So the Raiders, you look at what the Eagles did to them. The Texans should be able to do something similar. I don't think there's going to be too much of a threat of that. And then we get a bigger picture of what's going on. And the Jags folding is one thing. Now, if you do think that winning the division would probably be the ideal scenario for the Texans, I think there's a chance that we look back at one play this year. Like there's really one play that you look at and you say, man, if that had not happened, then this season could be a lot different. If that does end up being something that costs the Texans not winning the division, it's going to be the Nico Collins fumble against the Jags. You were in field goal range. A guy who I think has lost one fumble in his career, it was that one. Fumbles, and it might be the play we look at where the season could have been different. If the Texans have to go to Buffalo, if the Texans, the matchup is not what you would hope it would be as a result of that's going to be what you look at. Because if you win that game, you have the tiebreaker over the Jags. You're in control of your own destiny. You're not sitting here asking the question, are the Jags going to jag? The Nico Collins fumble might end up being the most costly play of 2025 as we look back. We're getting very well ahead of ourselves, but not too much because there's 3 games. So it's something to keep an eye on. Bottom line is you win your game, the Colts lose, you're likely in the playoffs, and then stuff starts shaping up and it becomes more and more clear in the coming weeks. These localized things, let's be honest, when you do them early in the season, significant injuries, stuff in the division, you lay it out. But this is really like the whole theme of this that we do each season since the channel started. This is where it gets more exciting, and there's a lot of ifs, and there's a lot of discussion about, well, do you want this to happen? Do you want that to happen? What will this matchup look like? Look at this. This is the fun time in the NFL season. This is when it gets really fun. A lot of you in your fantasy playoffs can't relate to that. But this is where it gets really fun when it comes to the Texans, and they're playing good ball. Are they playing elite ball? They've beat some pretty good teams. They beat the Chiefs, who are done. They beat the Bills, who might be the hottest team in the league right now. But does that matter in the playoffs? Who knows? There's some intriguing stuff going on. There's a lot of questions that remain. There's a few questions that'll be answered, and then it gets really fun. Speaking of the Colts, I do wonder if Sunday is as good as it gets for this Colts bit, this Phillip Rivers thing. They were close with the Seahawks. It seems like they're getting kind of a participation type of vibe. It feels like a lot of people are, they really hung in there and they fought hard and all that. Yeah, they did. We'll see what it looks like next week when they're taking on San Francisco Monday night, which the next time we do this post-week outlook, it will basically be the post game to the Colts versus the 49ers, which perfect, man. That's actually really exciting. You look at the Sunday night and the Monday night, there is localized implications of that with the Ravens and the Patriots, and then the 49ers and Colts. So the end of next weekend and Monday night is going to be fun. I think this is as good as it gets for the Colts. I think we start to see that kind of die down. You can't you can't throw the ball the way that Phillip Rivers is throwing a football in that last. You can't look the way he looks and look that comfortable when you step back on the football field. Right now, though, this is interesting. The San Francisco 49ers are on only a 5.5-point favorite. I might have to cash that bet because they need to win. But San Francisco's a flawed team too. And if the Colts are just going to play around the run game and the defense is going to play like that, then they might have a chance against non-elite defenses. San Francisco doesn't have Bosa. They don't have Fred Warner. And they got flaws on offense, but I just don't see that happening. What if the Colts win next week? And that's when we're on there. It's fun. There's a lot of what ifs, and that's the beauty of it. Intrigue over Jawar Jordan, intrigue over the rest of the league. This has been the Locker Room localized post-week outlook. A really, really fun one with a lot of questions. Damn shame that Buffalo couldn't take that L, but sometimes it be like that. When you don't control your own destiny, you have to look around. That's the point of the Monday night locker rooms in season. See y'all at BB's Kingwood this Friday. We'll be watching ball as well, at least the A&M game on Saturday at Spanky's. Be sure to subscribe. Be sure to like. Be sure to ride along. Be sure to always remember when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together. Shout out to Sleeper. Download the app. Use it as your scoring app. And play along, higher, lower, the best in the game, best scoring app, best sports app as well. Shout out to the greatness that is Sleeper. Good night, everyone.
If it's up, then it's up. We number one. You don't need to try your luck. Locker room, yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk, yeah, you know what we about to do. Localized, every angle's what we really do.